Check this out. Wow.
Angel Reese recently experienced one of her career's most awful games. And to be honest, it hurt to see her. Was not only awful, but a walking catastrophe.
She has her worst professional pro game.
Careless turnovers are absurd. Errors and a risky play style that she appeared to be trying out for She entered the WWE rather than the WNBA, speaking loudly and behaving as though she was about to rule, but guess what? Reality struck hard. Napheesa Collier refused to accept it, remained attentive, and let her game do the conversing and ensuring that Angel Reese received a seat in the front row to her own embarrassment. The finest aspect was when Collier received the final chuckle with a frigid shot that wins the game, leaving Reese looking bewildered and shocked, and made all that garbage fully visible, talking pointlessly about all those cheap shots. This game wasn't a simple L for Angel Reese, it was a total catastrophe. And, believe me, we're going to fall apart. Each and every violent instance that demonstrates she is not as invulnerable as she believes. Keep an eye out because this is a breakdown. You do not wish to miss it, but let's get started and take a brief second to subscribe and like this video to the channel by becoming a member of our team. You will always be aware of the expert opinions on the most recent WNBA developments and details of significant maneuvers such as this. Don't pass this up, we have all the angles covered, so use the like button. Subscribe, then let's get started. Consider yourself a basketball superstar, entering the court with assurance, and the lights are bright and ready to take over. The audience is applauding and your group is relying on you. It should be As soon as the game begins, the stakes are high and supporters anticipate seeing a memorable performance, but rather than demonstrating your abilities, you unintentionally become your own star. Blooper clip, which is precisely what Angel Reese experienced an unforgettable game.
Reese with what looks like a very dirty move under the basket. Check this out. Wow.
Angel Reese had more than simply a terrible game, but she had one that people will, for all the wrong reasons, keep in mind. Turnovers to trash-related missed shoots. Conversation that ended in a humiliating. Lastly, this was one of those performances that critics and fans will not cease discussing for a while in truth that if a Hall of Fame existed for sports catastrophes caused by oneself, perhaps the game has a special wing for Angel Reese.
Angel Reese was on Napheesa Collier, giving her a bunch of frustrating bumps. And at the end of the game, the Lunar Owls does come away with the dub.
Let's dissect it now. Reese entered. All the swagger you'd see in the court. She strutted, as one might expect from a star player. Chest out, as if she controlled the space. Self-assured and prepared to demonstrate her trash-talking before the first whistle, even made expressions when it blew, mocking rivals and posing as she was set to undergo a career-defining event. There was enthusiasm in the performance, but the execution that was lacking completely.
Angel Reese is out there looking like a UFC fighter.
It didn't take a while for things to get started. Downhill from the very beginning. Could see that Reese was more attentive from putting on a show rather than truly playing basketball and winning instead of being true to the basics. She was also vomiting up while playing for the cameras. Crazy shots, doing dangerous maneuvers, and yelling at the other team, but without substance. Confidence is just arrogance, and Reese soon discovered her arrogance was getting out of hand, quickly transformed into obvious annoyance, and that annoyance resulted in carelessness. At one point, she was attempting to display her impressive footwork. The following, she appeared to be fumbling the ball. You could see that she was allergic to it. Face, she was aware that things weren't going her way, but rather than changing, she doubled. Reduced the absurdity if there was ever a smart, disciplined night to play. Instead, she played basketball, made the game a personal one, Draw attention to the things not to do on the court.
Look very intentional, everything that is happening with the unrivaled league, because all of this stuff transpired, like I stated, just 4 to 5 hours after it was announced that Super Lunescu was quitting the league.
Oh boy did. It had a tremendous backfire with. Every time she made a mistake, she became more careless. Instead than allowing the game to play, force plays come to her rather than demonstrating her. She claimed to be the dominant force, made herself the center of attention. By the time, for all the wrong reasons. When halftime arrived, the only ones, the fans who watched her were amused. Real-time decline, let's discuss. The figures, since they are truthful, Reese had a total of 7 turnovers, and we're not discussing small mistakes these. Did she actually just do that? Were you pulled on? Moments that cause fans to laugh and cringe. Simultaneously, among the worst. When the time arrived, she tossed the basketball with the backboard squared off and then get ready as she bounced back on her own pass.
Angel Reese rebounded her own pass. Guys, I'm dead. I saw this and was like, this can't be real.
Yes, you did read. She gave herself that right. Fans who watched at home were shocked. It was the type of error that you would anticipate from a player in middle school, not a. As a professional athlete, she seemed to have an unexpected identity crisis and believed she was engaging in handball as an alternative to basketball, as though attempting to surpass. She followed up with another one herself, a masterpiece of catastrophe that is entirely needless failure to see the issue. Nobody was present to witness it. The ball appeared to have soared out of bounds. Even her own place would be great. Coworkers appeared perplexed by what she was attempting to do. Perhaps she was trying out for a comedic skit rather than. It's like she's guiding her team to victory. Her perception was that she was in a Harlem Globe Trotter display, but I didn't remember the section where you should be skilled at trickery.
Rushed to Rose, BC, and Angel, well, she did some rather interesting things on the court.
And it wasn't only. Reese made care to include those 2 instances. Diversity in her turnover exhibition. Dabbing directly into the defender's check. Removing her clothes since she wasn't. Keeping an eye on things and handing to a colleague who didn't even look twice. Check, it seemed at one point that she was representing both teams and giving the opponents simple possessions such as, on Christmas morning, it seemed as though she was engaged in an internal rivalry. How many ways can I present the ball away? Good job, mission completed. It's awful to commit 7 turnovers in one game. Sufficient, but her method is legendary. Due to turnovers, but for all the wrong reasons. Weren't the sole problem that evening. Reese wasn't merely giving away who she was. Playing a basketball with a brand that was less real and more about brute force. Skill, which brought us to the next chapter. During her terrifying night,
Angel was 8 for 16 for 17 points, 10 boards last night. 7 damn turnovers. 7. All right?
she was shoving people and attempting to scare everyone in her vicinity, particularly Napheesa Collier, her opponent, but Collier refused to fall for it. But Reese was occupied with acting like a strong chick, was serenely concentrating on winning the game, and she did precisely that. Watching a chess master play was like that. Confronted by someone who believed flipping the board was a valid tactic. Spoiler alert, Reese wasn't out. They're flinging elbows and checking their bodies, rivals, and personalizing each game, like though basketball had abruptly changed into a bout of boxing. However, rather than, Collier was rattled, which only made her more convinced that Reese was attempting to intimidate her. Throughout the game, although Collier was constructed for this serene, collected, and fully, while Reese was unmoved by the chaos.
Reese is the most unskilled basketball player in the history of basketball, in my opinion. She has no skills. She knows that she's not a very good basketball player.
Unfolding, she wasn't merely rotating she was also taking some of the ball over. the worst possible shots, and when I mean a high school gym teacher when I say bad. Flaunting her airballing skills, she maintained, making frantic attempts in the hopes.
8 to shoot, Tiggins-Smith, matched up by Gray. Sykes took a fall. Collier wins it! 12-1, Lunar Owls!
Afterward, there was the notorious. She once attempted a layup, but she had no defenders. Wide open layup. Pressure simply a simple shot, but rather of making it she was able to fail so miserably that fans in the ball was collectively moaned by the stands. Like it owed, it bounced off the backboard. Even physics was perplexed by her money. What she was doing outside was really. Unfortunately, her teammates had to stare at her. The farther she went, the more she missed. She became very irritated. The worse she played, the more frustrated she became. She was caught up in a negative loop. Choices that were executed much worse. The basketball equivalent of a collision. Although you didn't want to watch, you simply couldn't take their eyes off it, and then the moment. That made Reese's game-ending outcome certain. With time running out and the score close, Napheesa Collier gave the best performance. Take back a crucial shot that won the game that packed up Reese and her group.
Wins it! 12-1, Lunar Owls!
However, this wasn't simply a loss. This was a total and complete takedown, a moment of silence on the after an awful performance that even her most ardent supporters had to switch off their televisions and act as though they never helped her. But it wasn't enough. Rather than leaving in silence, Collier turned to face Reese and gave him a bark in return, at her in the same manner that Reese had been throughout the entire game. And let me clarify that. The moment was invaluable, the second hand. The embarrassment was so palpable. It passed through the screen,